Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. This week, we are going to just talk about Paul Heyman's
Ugh.
2024 Hall of Fame induction. It was truly a speech to behold. If you
Yeah.
have not watched it, it is 30 minutes of the most beautifully off the cuff, just masterfully orchestrated crowd work I've ever seen. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He hit every kind of era of Paul Heyman. He talked about all of the people that he impacted. It was just amazing. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited that I got to see this. I mean, I can't imagine how ECW fans, like lifelong ECW fans or just lifelong Paul Heyman fans, felt watching this, because I've only known Paul Heyman or known of him for such a short amount of time. And I have said this on the main show. I literally would take a bullet for him. It's so crazy. But
Right. And you wouldn't be wrong,
no, and I stand by it. I stand by what I said. And I sobbed,
Mm,
sobbed during most of this.
yeah.
And I can't imagine someone who's loved Paul Heyman since like the ECW days and like watched him like, throughout his whole career felt watching this, because like if I was inconsolable, like I don't even know how people would feel about it. But it's really funny because I know that the two people who were hosting the event, I forgot to write their names down, but I know that they're wrestlers. I know that they're like wonderful, amazing people. I forgot to write their names down. But the woman who was co-hosting said like he turned this like modest production into both, and literally people were like boo because she said modest production. And
Right.
like it's not that it wasn't, it's like not wrong, but also
Right.
like people were so
You
pissed.
gotta first, for those of you who did not know, he was inducted in Philadelphia,
Girl.
which is both the birthplace of ECW as well as the location of WrestleMania 40 this weekend. So this was a full circle moment as far as like Paul's career is concerned.
Yeah.
And if, as we know, we've talked about it a few times, Philadelphia fans, when they love something, they love something. They
Yep.
are going to defend it loudly, rashly, at every turn, because that's, if there's one thing they do, is they adopt whatever it is as their own, and they fight for it like it's family.
Yep.
And that's just the attitude that ECW was built on.
I love
It
it.
it was very much the little engine that could, uh and Philadelphia fans were the bloodline of that.
Yeah. They were the tracks
Right.
that the train
Absolutely.
ran on for sure. Um and it immediately after she says that, an ECW chant breaks out, as it did several times
Yeah.
during his speech, as it does. Like they were literally like, girl, modest wear by not that that's her fault. I mean, it was written for her or whatever.
Right.
But I don't want to get too much into like the little like compilation they did of his career, because we know so much about it, and I really want to get into his speech. But I did want to say, like, I love that I didn't know this when he was 15, because he's from the Bronx. When he was 15, there was a wrestling match happening at Madison Square Garden, and he literally smooth talked his way into getting backstage by saying he was like a photographer. He had no camera. He was just like, yeah. Like, and like 15-year-old Paul Heyman, like sneaking into the back. It tracks. Like he just
Yeah.
has that
And
way about him.
there's something like called like the Heyman hustle, and
Girl,
like that, when I tell you, like, this man, as somebody who is like aspiring to get into the wrestling like business, like there is nobody you look to more than just like Paul Heyman, as far as like, just believe your own shit and they will believe it. Like,
yeah.
just fake it till you make it, and then just keep going. Like, it's amazing. It's truly amazing.
Yeah. And like when he comes out, what I love about him so much is because this is real to me. This is like to me, he hugs his homies first. He doesn't even walk in, right? He walks past like Van Damme and he's like, "Hey," hugs him. Um, what's his name?
Tommy Dreamer, Bubba Ray
Like
Dudley, like he
Bubba Ray
gives them
Dudley,
all
he's
a hug
hugging
rate.
them all.
Mhm.
He's like, this is like not just my night. This is like for us. And I love that. Like he's like literally walking in to receive a Hall of Fame induction. He's like, hold on, I gotta hug my people
And
first.
again, that just shows like that is the mentality of Paul, is that everybody eats like mentality. He
Everybody eats.
he understands like he does nothing alone. Like none
Yep.
of what has happened in his life happened just by, you know, sheer like luck or,
Happenstance.
yeah, it is very much because like he has had a vision, has plans, and incorporates people to make those plans like come true.
Yeah.
And that is a leader, whether you want to
Period.
like, call him that or not. That is what a leader does.
Yep. Crazy. Love that about him. And I literally wrote, he hasn't even said a word and I'm crying. But everyone starts chanting. He gets onto the stage and everyone starts chanting, "You deserve this." Like, you deserve this,
Mhm.
as wrestling fans do. And so his very first sentence in his acceptance speech or his induction speech or whatever is, and I'm going to curse, I'm sorry, but he did first. "You're damn right, I deserve it."
Right. Amazing. Amazing.
Period.
And the thing is like it doesn't come off as like arrogant or any, it just comes off as like I worked really hard. Like I really
Yeah.
worked hard. Like
And
I do.
no one can take that from him. No one can dispute that. So that's
Right.
why he gets to say it because there's not
Mhm.
gonna be like someone like, "No, well, I no, you can't.
Right.
You can't."
Mhm.
Um, and that's when he shares he didn't prepare anything,
Right.
which is crazy. He was like, "I wanted to feel the room." And he
Yeah.
like makes a joke. He goes, "I asked Rob Van Dam like what I should do," and he said something about like Rob just like being like extremely high and like
Right.
as he's like, and then he goes, "And then I asked my son," and he said he did the same thing and then said,
Mhm.
"Ask Rob Van Dam,"
Right.
which is great.
So good.
Because his two children are sitting in the front row.
Mhm.
Azalea is his daughter's name, which I love. What a gorgeous name. And then is it Justin? I think is his son.
Sure.
But they I think are like 20. I think she's 21 and I think he's 19 because I looked this up. But they're sitting right in the front row, next to CM Punk. Amazing.
Mhm.
And he says, "I'm the beneficiary of mass praise for doing with my life exactly what I wanted to do with my life."
Right.
And
That is so powerful. Like that is the goal. That is the dream. That is
that's the
like that
dream.
is the American dream, is doing exactly what you want with your life and like getting, getting the accolades for it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just yeah, and I think the because he didn't prepare anything, like he's really speaking from his heart, which is crazy. That could go so wrong in so
Mhm.
many ways. And of course, from Paul, it's fine. It's completely amazing. And like that to say that and just have so much passion behind it, because the
Right.
way he said it too, just like, oh God, it really
Mhm.
pulls at you. And then he praises Triple H, who is now obviously at the helm of WWE,
Right.
for his leadership. And he's like, and it's so crazy because of course he didn't want me to say anything. That was his one request. He was like, please don't say anything. He goes, but I'm me, and so obviously I'm not listening to you. Like
Right.
I'm gonna say something. Um, it was so sweet. He praises him. It's very emotional between the two of them. He praises Stephanie, who's Vince's daughter, which is crazy, but like,
No, and I think that was a very pointed thing to do.
absolutely.
Well, one this weekend, as far as like WrestleMania 40, like this whole thing was essentially like Hunter's coming out party as far as like being the person at the helm of the company.
Okay.
This was very much so, in everything that was presented to us this weekend was made to made to be felt as this was kind of like a new era, a new chapter.
You could feel
So
it.
and in this, so that we're talking like new intros re-recorded. We're talking a brand new world heavyweight champion. So basically, this is the first champion that is like picked by Hunter. Like this is the first, like every other like person that has like carried the mantle or has been the face of the company has been picked by Vince. Obviously, it was Hogan,
Mm.
then it was Austin, then it was Cena, then it was Roman. Like those were all Vince guys. Like they were selected by Vince. They were the ones who were like, this is who we're gonna bank it on. This is kind of like the first era that is completely chosen by Hunter. So this is the first Hall of Fame class chosen by Hunter. This is the
Wow.
first World Heavyweight Champion, like chosen by Hunter. This is the first WrestleMania run by Hunter. This is the first WrestleMania that didn't have Vince McMahon ever.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
so this whole thing was very much meant to feel like a new kind of era, and the way that Paul like goes into it is like the way that he kind of assumed responsibility for like this company, and the way, and he says, and the manner in which he leads us, um which goes to show like he is somebody that respects the people he works with and respects their lives and what they do for him and the company.
Yes.
And he's like, I will say this into the camera for like prosperity and whatever into the future. Like I am now and will forever be a Paul Levesque guy.
Yep.
Which was amazing because it's
It's
just like
beautiful.
how proud Paul must be to be the first person picked to be like the headliner for that era is a big deal, because we are leaving somebody that has really put a blemish on this giant thing that he's created. He's really
Yeah.
put just a sour note on all of that. So
Yeah.
to not have to be associated with that person uh when receiving your accolades for your life's work is a big deal. Like
Yeah.
that's important. And it shows that like, no, we don't accept that as something that is acceptable or okay, or like you know, we are not taking that. That is not what we are bringing into the future. What we are
Yeah.
bringing into the future is minds like this, and that's way better. That is the
Yeah.
direction we want to be.
Yeah. Getting emotional. But and also to say it all without having to say any of that. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just
Mhm.
like the power he has is like to say all of that by being so subtle about it, but it's so powerful.
Right.
It's just it's so good. And it's really crazy. And I don't want to be like too cheesy because like again, I'm new here, but like you could feel energetically how different it felt. Like, not that
Mhm.
again, I haven't
No.
seen too
No,
much,
it does.
but, like, it felt even like, again, I was crying before he even said anything because I was like, it just feels energetically so important, like, this
Right.
moment,
Mhm.
and I literally was like, wrestling is so important to so many people, and, like, the actions of one man, one very powerful man, like, could have destroyed it. Like,
Mhm.
almost destroyed it, and, like, the fact that it's being, it's being carried and, like, lifted and changed and, like, whatever by people who, like, clearly have their heart in it, who have, like, the most amazing creative minds, it just felt so crazy, like,
Mhm.
the energy just felt so different.
Yeah, no, it and it does, and the energy just has felt different this whole weekend, like this whole, and I'm telling, just from the fact of like I met and talked with like a bunch of fans who like
Yeah.
went there and went to WrestleMania and like both nights and went to Raw and blah blah blah, and like you can just kind of tell that um it's just it's different. It's a different ball game. Like people are people are really really pleased as far as like the communication from the top, the investment in the wrestlers that are already like seeing changes where they weren't necessarily valued under the previous leadership, where they're now just like, well, no, not everybody fits the formula that you've done for 50 years. That doesn't
Right.
necessarily work anymore. Maybe
Right.
it's time to just allow them to be who they are and kind of, guide that, and that will yield better results. And it's so far very much so has been. We have been seeing more wrestlers kind of progress than we have in the last like 10 years. Uh
Wow.
I'm talking progressing on like all levels. Like you're like your new people are like really getting the reps that they need. The people that are on like the mid card level are like really starting to like push their way into the main event. The main event players are becoming something that's like that transcends just like wrestling. That's when they become like the pop culture. When I'm saying that, I'm like Cody Rhodes sold over $1 million in merchandise this weekend alone. This weekend alone.
Oh my God.
Right.
I mean, I was
And
saying
that's
to
one
Xavier,
person. That's one
yeah,
person.
yeah. I was saying to Xavier before we started today, I was like, maybe it's because like we do this now, and so my algorithm is like, you want wrestling, right? But like platforms that I followed for years, like Complex, like magazine, was like posting all about WrestleMania this weekend. And I don't
Right.
think I've ever seen them post about wrestling before, or like
Mm-hmm.
paper magazine. Like so many crazy outlets that I've followed forever that have nothing to do with wrestling
Mm-hmm.
were posting about wrestling this weekend. And I
It's
was like, whoa,
absolutely bonkers.
really
Uh,
crazy.
and
So yeah.
yeah, absolutely not. But let's continue with this speech
Oh,
because
sorry,
no,
because
no,
I
no,
could talk
no,
about
no,
this
you're
forever.
good.
But
We'll
like,
talk
so
forever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he praises Stephanie, which I think is amazing. She's wearing the most incredible I need leather ECW hat that
Mm-hmm.
I just need in my possession immediately. Love.
I no, I agree. It was a callback, but I'm glad she pulled it out.
Me too, me too. He goes on also to talk to his kids, which also made me sob.
Oh
And
yeah.
one thing I wrote down that he said is, it's not about the money. Like he was like, this is a lesson for you. Like it's not about the money. It's about being worthy of people's respect. It's about being worthy of people's admiration.
Ugh.
And then he just said, girl, I was crying. I desperately love you both.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Bye. And then he says, which also gutted me, I so wish my parents were here to see this. And we know like the relationship he had with his dad as a lawyer, like the smooth talker. He literally said, if I could talk like half as good as my dad did, like I would have done well for myself. And then this really took me up because, as we know, he is the manager of the tribal chief, who is obviously going to be fighting Cody Rhodes for
Mm-hmm.
the heavyweight championship. And Cody Rhodes is there and he goes, "Where's Cody Rhodes? Like, where's he at?" And everyone's booing and freaking out because he thinks he's gonna like cut a promo right now about like, man, my guy, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
He's sitting behind him. Paul walks around the podium, switches the mic to the other side to look at Cody Rhodes dead in the face and just goes, I also so wish your father was here to see this.
Right. Do you
That's
know
it.
the
Switches mics.
the history a little bit behind that? I don't know if you are aware or not.
I think I
Um,
know a little bit, but tell me.
so when Paul was at ECW, at this point in Dusty's career, him and his family were really struggling financially. They
Okay.
were not doing well. They were Yeah, they were just struggling. So basically, Paul reaches out to Dusty during this time and is like, "Hey, like if you can come like work for us, like we'll like just come do a promo, come help like these kids. Do like just help us out in any way that you can and we'll like pay you." And they talked about it on like during like an exchange once between the two, like Cody and Paul Heyman on like an episode of Monday Night Raw recently, where basically he was just like he's like, and it wasn't just that like you helped us get the money that we sorely needed. Like you helped my father feel like my father again. Get his confidence back.
Thank
And like
God.
I that he could do like he could make money doing what he had always done. And that matters to, so there is just very much this sense of gratitude from Cody because he really like came in and when his family like needed a lifeline, like through the lifeline. And that is again Paul to a
Freaking
T.
love that guy. He's so crazy. Oh my God.
so
Wow.
so that's why he took the time to kind of do that at the Hall of Fame because
And
they
like
have a long-standing relationship already. And he I think needed Cody to know like regardless of
beef.
whatever's going on, like that is more important.
Oh, I'm gonna
Right.
just okay, well, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight again. But yeah, and I think it was just not overdone. And I think it was just beautiful. And it was just switch the mic and he just said, I just so wish your father was here, switches it right back. And like Cody immediately in tears, me too. I
Mhm.
mean, just so amazing. And someone in the crowd shouts, I love you, and he goes, I love me too.
Right.
I think that covers all the mushy shit, right? And then he goes, all right. He has this humongous destroyed box, like, it's literally got duct tape, stains, whatever, on, like, the podium with him, and
Mhm.
he starts opening it up, and I go, "I swear to God, if he whips out this coat." Boop, out comes the coat. The Paul Heyman leather coat, and
Right.
the headset, the phone,
Mhm.
the hat, I just amazing, and he starts really doing, like, classic Paul E. Dangerously, like,
He just
OG.
just he gives us that ECW Paul that we
Oh my
wanted.
god, dead. And he just says, "In 1993, this industry sucked."
Right, and
And
he's not wrong.
yeah, and he said, "Let me get my hands on it, and I will show you the way." And he's like, "I was gonna bring rock to wrestling. I was gonna bring hip hop. I was gonna bring sexy women and violence and blood, and I was gonna change everything, and it could not have happened anywhere but Philly." And, like, we all know this. We know it to be true. I mean, so good. And he says, I think it was Bubba said, "We weren't meant to last. We were meant to come through and change the industry and go out in a blaze of glory."
And it's exactly what happened.
I mean, and if anyone embodies "I'm here for a good time, not a long time," mama, it's ECW. Like,
Amen.
I am here for a good time, not a long time. I'm going to put a cinder block on the gas pedal and cut the brakes. Like, we
Right.
are going all the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic.
I love that, and that's when he says, and, like, for those, if you think ECW died in a bankruptcy court in 2001, you can suck my
Amazing. Absolutely spectacular. And and the thing is, like, he goes on to just be like, he's just like he's like ECW lives on in like the way that wrestling is today, in the matches that we see, in like the style of like just other wrestling promotions. In like he's just like, we have been so entrenched in everything that is wrestling because we have been adopted by so many things. He goes on to like talk about, he's like when he goes on to like talk about, like, he starts like rattling off like all of these people's careers that he's essentially responsible for. It's
Mhm.
insane.
It's wild.
Like, who like hands off like Mark Calloway to Bruce Pritchard, who later becomes the Undertaker? Me. He's like, who was Stone Cold's manager, like, and like got Stone Cold to come to ECW to like give us his bottom line? Me. And it's just like, who gave like WCW the cruiserweights and Eddie Guerrero and like Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko? Like, who was that? Me. And it's just like, and then like, who like was the stone that started rolling down the hill that became the Attitude Era? We were. And it just like,
Period.
and it is just unmitigated facts, facts on facts on facts. And you're just like, Jesus, the number of people's careers that, and I'm talking the number of main event people's careers that he is
Yep.
responsible for is insane. The
Yep.
Undertaker, Mankind, Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, where like people who are like Mount Rushmores of this industry, he's
Mhm.
had a hand in. And that's insanity, because to be that ubiquitous in this business is no small feat. To
Nope.
be just to have such a mind, to be respected everywhere you go, essentially minus WCW. But you know, he also gets his last lick on WCW. Like, you know,
Love.
like he calls it something about that joke of a company, and I was dying.
Unbelievable.
Uh,
Unbelievable.
Amazing. And
So good.
it is just so, he's just so impassioned, and you can tell that like this is like out, and you can tell like he has his priorities right. Like, outside of his family, this is his love. This is
Absolutely.
what drives him. It's amazing. It was just truly a spectacular speech.
It's so amazing, and he goes on to say, like, they can't cancel me. Like, it was in the same vein of, like, all the people he's brought to stardom. It's like, they can't cancel me because I just come back better and stronger than ever before. Like, literally, like, you fire me from WCW, I created ECW out of that. Like,
Right.
from that, like, you got rid of me and you thought I was done, and I created something so insane it influenced every single organization afterwards. Then ECW gets like files for
Closes its doors.
bankruptcy,
Yeah.
is done, and then I come to WWE and change the game here, and like over and over and over again. He goes, "You literally cannot get rid of me. Like I will they won't cancel me ever again because I will come back stronger." Like,
Right.
and he says like the only person that can cancel you is yourself,
Right.
which is crazy. Um, and he goes, I work with the future of this business, and he names like a lot of amazing people. Jade Cargill is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea Ripley is
Right.
another. Names so many amazing people. And then he goes, let's take this bitch home, shall we? Like
Mm-hmm.
to wrap it up. And he basically uh leaves us with, he goes, I know it's cheesy, I know it's, an overplayed line, but like, yo bitches, I'm just getting started, you ain't seen nothing yet, we're gonna disrupt it all over again.
Right.
um
Amazing.
and that's not a prediction, that's a spoil.
I love it. I love
Mm,
it.
it was
It was truly like it was from the heart. It really did a great job encapsulating his entire career, but it was still him. It was him to the T. And
yep.
that's exactly he wouldn't have there is no other way he would have done it.
Nope.
None. This
Nope.
is exactly the speech he was probably destined to give. It was probably just sitting in here from the time he was 15 and just came
Mm,
out, you know?
yep.
Um and I respect that man so much, and I
So much.
respect what he values, and his willingness to elevate everybody around him. I think
Absolutely.
I think that really is like the true markings of like a great person is when everyone around you gets better because you're there. And I think that is something people like to think that they do,
Mm,
and not something that very many people actually do.
mm-hmm.
Because it takes a lot of selflessness
Mm-hmm.
to understand that it's not always about you being the center of attention or you being like the focal point. But if you are skilled enough and hardworking enough that you can create something that helps people, that people enjoy, that people get something out of, that makes their life a little better. And that
Mm-hmm.
what beats that, honestly.
It's so true.
So,
I mean, when everybody eats, you also have a plate.
right.
Like, and you'll always have a plate if you're helping everybody eat. And maybe it's not always about like that, but it's just like it's such an admirable thing to like be so like there, like you saying it, there's such a, you have to have such a level of humility. But he's also so like so much larger than life. It's just
Mhm.
he's just, I don't know. Like
Right.
un unbelievable as a person, and it's truly admirable qualities that he possesses, and like you just have nothing but respect for that man.
Ugh, amen. Do you have any other words to impart on this?
Just that Paul Heyman is God. I finally found a faith I can truly follow and believe in, and I feel good in my feelings about that. But
Mm.
I just it's so inspiring. And I remember you were telling me like, oh, we're gonna watch like the Paul Heyman, and I wanted to watch it anyway, but like we're gonna watch it and do an episode on it. And I literally was like, I'm just hysterically crying. And you were like, I knew you were gonna love it because it's just insane and amazing. And I can't believe
Mhm.
he did that off the cuff, like
I
off the
know.
cuff, no plan. And I'm sure he maybe thought of some things to say, but like
Mm.
I it's just crazy. And it couldn't have been more perfectly timed. Like WrestleMania 40 in Philly, like
Mhm.
new like the first person to be running WWE after Vince McMahon, like the first Hall of Fame to be done without him. Like it's just the timing of it could not be better. All the
Right.
pieces were so perfect. I mean, what a fantastic weekend. Like
Ugh,
just the best. And Paul is just, I can't wait to see what he does next. Because if we're disrupting this, like, girl, like, I can't wait to see what happens.
amen. Okay, so I guess to steal a phrase, let's take this bitch home, shall
Let's take
we?
this bitch home, shall we?
All right, this has been a very special edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. Stay tuned. All
So
right, so
apropos. Paul, we love you.
we love you. We love you, and we love you. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.